Version 12 relies exclusively on INI files to store settings. It also uses INI files to save data for exporting and importing. To avoid problems with formatting and default characters, when using different regional settings in Windows, version 12 forces all programs to use US-centric settings, as shown in the information on the screen.
Welcome to this tutorial on how to create batch reference files that are used when measuring time series variable star images. As a brief reminder, here are some of the conventions used in the slides for this tutorial. Don't put quotes around strings when you enter them into an entry field. A word within angle brackets is the caption, or name of a control that you click with the mouse. Batch reference files are text files that provide information needed by the program when measuring time series variable star images. They include the stars to be measured, their positions, and, except for the target, the catalog magnitudes for the check and comparison stars. Once you've created a batch reference file for a variables field, you can simply load that file. Otherwise, you'll have to select the stars yourself. Batch reference files also help assure that the same stars are used every time so that data from multiple sessions will fit seamlessly together, or very nearly so.
To get going, start the MPO launcher. Click on the Utilities header button, and then click the AAVSO Batch Gen button. Wait until the program shows, which can take a few seconds while the database tables are opened. Once the batch reference form appears, you can close the launcher, move it aside, or click the button just under the X button at upper right. This toggles the height of the launcher between the last full size and a roll-up that shows just the title bar and launcher information. Of course, if you're going to try to download photometry data from the AAVSO, you must have an internet connection. However, you can also use the form to edit existing batch reference files. To download an AAVSO photometry table for a specific star, click the DLVSD button. Wait for the download form to appear. It is important not to change the URL in the base URL field, unless the AAVSO changes it. Click the Name Radio button, meaning that you are finding a star by its name. You can also center the chart on a fixed location. If you click IDEC, those two fields are enabled, and you would enter the IA and declination of the chart center. Enter AF, HER, for AF Herculeum, in both the name and title fields. The name field must contain a star name known by the AAVSO web program. The title can be whatever you want, but don't make it too long. Set the field to 25 arc minutes and the limiting magnitude to 18. When measuring your own images, you would change these values to fit the field of view and limiting magnitude of your system. Check the north up and east left boxes. Click the All Vars button. This finds all known variables that are in the field. Checking GCSV would look only for stars in the general catalog of variable stars table included with MPO software. Click the DL Data button. Select a path and base name for the JSON and PNG files to be saved. The default file name is the value in the name field with spaces converted to underscores. Do not change the default extension for the JSON file. The program forces a PNG extension for the chart. Click the Save button to save the name and location. The dialog closes. When it does, the program immediately tries to connect to the AAVSO server. As the operation progresses, some messages appear in the panel at the bottom. Success is indicated by the PNG retrieved message and the image button being enabled. It's possible that the download won't work. If you continue to get problems and you're sure that the name entry is valid, the URL has not been changed, and you have an internet connection, contact tech support.
Click the Notepad button to show a read-only display of the downloaded JSON file. In this case, no stars, other than the target variable, were found. This means that you will have to find them yourself when measuring the images. Fortunately, after that first time, you can save the comps in a batch reference file and use it instead. Click the Close button. Here's an example of what you might see if choosing a variable that does have AAVSO provided comp star candidates. This file is for Geminorum, a well-studied variable that is the prototype for a class of variables. Now let's see what the Finder chart looks like. Click the Image button, which is next to the DL button at the lower right of the form. This opens a file dialog form. Navigate to the same directory where you saved the JSON file and select its PNG counterpart. When you click the Open button on the dialog, the program automatically starts the basic Windows Paint image editor. If it's not found, you'll need to load the image using a different program. This will not prevent you from continuing on. The chart shows 3 additional variables in the field. They need to be checked before planning to include them in the batch reference file. The best resource for this is the Variable Star Index, or VSX. You can get to it by using the URL on the screen or, should it change, going to the AAVSO website and finding a link to VSX there. It turned out that only one star, V1208 Herculeum, was suitable. If the additional star has an AUID name, which is a unique identifier, use that instead of the name when creating an entry in the batch reference file when setting comp stars in the first session for the star. This is important because sometimes the star name cannot be found when submitting your observations to the AAVSO. It's important to remember that any stars, other than the main variable, must be included manually when going through the first session for the variable. Once found, they can be added to the existing or new batch reference file and be automatically measured from then on. Close the AAVSO photometry form by clicking the X System Close button in the upper right corner. Since there were not enough stars to create a reference file now, close the batch reference form. You will create the batch reference file using an embedded version of this form on the Variable Star Wizard.
What if that JSON file had plenty of candidates? In that case, click the Import VSD button to open a file dialog form. Locate the JSON file and load it. The import function should have automatically placed any variables in the list at the top, followed by one and only one check star, and then any remaining stars set to be comps. Don't accept every file automatically. Review the list for the minimum requirements for the number of target, check, and comp stars. Also, the automatically selected check star may be too bright. Remember that you can also edit the list when selecting comps during measuring. This might be needed if the target, or one of the other stars, has a close companion, or the check star is not in a good place or of a good magnitude. To delete a star, accept the main target, click on it in the list. Then click the Delete button, which is just under the list with an X icon. Confirm the request in the pop-up message that appears. Do not click the Trash Can button. That can delete all the items in the list, but not before you get a chance to change your mind. To edit a star, click on it in the list. This enters the star's data in the entry fields. Make the changes you want in the entry fields. For example, you can update the name of the variable, or change a check star to a comp. Once you've made all changes, click the pencil button, located just under the list with a pencil icon. Don't reverse the second 2 steps. If you click the pencil button first, then the star in the list will keep its original values, and the changes you make afterwards won't be saved, unless you click the pencil button again.
What if one of the targets has a very close companion that cannot be isolated from the target when measuring? This is called a nemesis star, and there is an effective way to handle the situation, that is to measure both stars at once and subtract the effect of the close companion on the target. You may be able to see the close companion on the Finder chart, but if you find it only when doing the first measuring run, you can still handle the problem. The important thing is that it is handled before you actually measure the images. You'll need to know the magnitude of the star. It's best, if possible, to use the value from the same catalog being used for the comp stars. If not, find another source, but be sure that it's in the same magnitude band that you're using. Don't use AB magnitude for the nemesis when you are using V for the target. The values seen here will not be used for measuring the tutorial images, they are for demonstration purposes only. Each target can have its own nemesis star settings. If dealing with more than one nemesis star, be sure to enter the correct values for a given target. Limited experience has found that you'll do better by defining elliptical apertures. This decreases the amount of empty sky within the measuring apertures and so improves the SNR for the final result. Make sure the mag value is 0 if there is no nemesis star. In that case, the other entries on the Nemesis tab for that target will be ignored. After all this, don't forget to save the batch reference file. Click the Save button to open a File Save dialog. Save the file to the location and name you want. Regardless, it must have, and will be forced to have, a TXT extension. Even if no changes were made, it won't hurt to save a backup version in the same directory. Make sure, however, that it still has a TXT extension or you won't find it using the Load button on the batch reference file form. If the file is good at this point, it will be quick work to select the comps, check, and targets when creating a session. If you don't have a good file, you'll create one during the first session for the main target and use it for that and all other sessions.
This concludes this tutorial for creating batch reference files using the standalone batch reference file generator. An embedded version is used when measuring time series variable stars, which is covered in the Variable Star Photometry tutorial. More tutorials are on the MPO YouTube channel by using the URL on the screen. Please subscribe so that you can be notified when new tutorials are available. If you have any questions or comments, please send them to the MPO Software Forum on IO Groups. Please note, you cannot attach files to messages. If necessary, you will be asked to send them offline. Thanks for watching.